folks, and welcome back to another Friday Night Spotlight brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. We are officially in the final week of the regular season for our remaining schools. Unfortunately for us, our 3A football teams are no longer in the playoffs. Both of them lost in Florence and Santan Foothills last week, so we're just going to keep on chugging along with our 4A and 5A teams. Looking at this week's game of the week, it is Poston Butte traveling up to American Leadership Academy, Gilbert North. And this is a pretty big deal because so far pretty much all season long, ALE Gilbert North has been the top seed in the 4A conference. So David, what are you expecting from the Broncos in this game?
Well, yeah, I'm expecting them to kind of stick with what they usually have been doing this entire year, and that's run the football. This team loves to run the football and kind of be that hard-nosed running style kind of team they have been all year and have been all throughout their program, and I think nothing changes for them going into this game. And so I'm expecting a slugfest, though, Thursday because, this team, they're, like you said, they're currently ranked number 1 in 4A. They're one of the top teams in the state, to be honest. They're a really solid group out there. So it's going to be a tough, hard-nosed game, I think, and this team is going to try and run down their throats and try to, be that aggressive, kind of physical style of play that we've seen throughout the year. And it starts with Gavin Thrower at running back. Like many years in the past, Poston Butte has always had a very loaded running back room, and so far Gavin Thrower has kind of cemented himself as the guy to be the running back. They still have a lot of complementary pieces out there, but Gavin Thrower is the guy right now. He's running for 1,363 yards on the season, 16 rushing touchdowns, so he is definitely the guy that they're wanting to kind of, use to their advantage as much as possible and keep the running style going. And the thing is with the Eagles, though, their defense can be lackluster at times. They're not really a team that stops a bunch of opposing offenses or kind of shuts them down completely. So I expect this to be a very high-scoring game. I think both these teams are going to rely more on their offenses rather than rely on their defenses. And this could be a matchup for later down in 4A. We'll still have to wait and see what happens with ALE Gilbert North possibly taking to the open, but most likely staying in 4A. So this could be a potential playoff matchup, and all it's going to matter right now is seeding. We'll see what happens when the brackets finally come out after this game. But I'm going to take the Broncos to win in this one. I think they're capable of making a statement here to the other 4A teams and saying, hey, we went to the state championship last year and we're looking to do it again. And I think this starts kind of making the statement before the playoffs even begin. So I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. I like their team, I like their style, and I think they are setting themselves up for success for another deep playoff run this year.
So looking at Poston Butte, for me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint where they are at exactly at this point in the season. A couple weeks ago, yes, they defeated one of the top 3 teams in Tempe Marcos Deniza. But then last week, although it wasn't a blowout, it did feel that way when they lost to Snowflake 28-7. And a big key here that we have to point out is that they are without their starting quarterback, who was the guy for majority of the season in Max Larson. And instead taking over at the position is sophomore Mason Lloyd. He's the one who's been playing last week and a bit again in that Marcos Deniza game. So far, he has completed 6 of 16 passes for 70 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Like David mentioned, Poston Butte isn't really known for throwing the ball because they rely so much on their run game, but it does help them to have that guy who does have that ability. And so far, I don't know if, this sophomore can do that given it's so late in the season and how much is really on the line right now. Looking at ALE Gilbert North, we got to talk about their quarterback. This guy is technically, I would call him Mr. Automatic in Adam DeMonte, a 70% completion rate, over 3,000 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. Like David mentioned, this is going to be a high-scoring game. ALE Gilbert North doesn't really have that stout of a defense like Poston Butte does with guys like Jahai Robertson and Bobby Gaitan. But still, they're going to have to slow down Poston Butte's run game, and Poston Butte is going to have to slow down ALE Gilbert North's passing game. David, is there anything else you want to add about this game?
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting how Poston Butte's able to bounce back after last week. Last week was kind of unfortunate for them, just kind of a disappointing game, only putting up 7 points against Snowflake. So we're going to have to see how they kind of bounce back from that. And this is, for me, for this game, it's a get-right game to get ready for the playoffs. And they obviously they don't want to go out there and lose. They want to make sure that they're able to kind of be sharp and be ready for the playoffs. So this is basically practice, especially with a tough team like ALE Gilbert North. This is practice for what you're going to see in the playoffs week in and week out for however long your playoff run is. So they got to be on top of their game and be ready for the playoffs and use this game to their advantage as much as they can.
All right, transitioning over to our what to watch. David, what do you have your eye on?
I got the Cougars. I got Casa Grande Union going up against Verrado this week. And, for Union, it's kind of been an up and down season. They started out with 3 straight wins to start the year, and then they lost 4 straight, so it was really difficult for them. It was kind of an up and down year for them. But I would still say that this was a fairly successful season for Casa Grande Unions, especially given this was their first year playing 5A football. And they still have a lot of young guys on this team because after the senior core was graduating after last year, that's kind of new guys have kind of come in and taken up those roles, and I think they've been successful so far. So for me, I think this game is just kind of just a way for them to prep for next year and see what they have and what team they want to be going into next year, and kind of start leading the way to more success in 5A. And for quarterback specifically, Torna Gant looks like the guy. He looks like the guy that's going to take up that mantle for them after Angel Flores had a successful Casa Grande Union career. So I think El Torna Gant is definitely going to be a guy that we're going to be seeing for a lot more games and a lot more times. We're going to be calling his name for being the guy that they want him to be at quarterback. And, this team has got good guys on defense as well. They can do a lot of great things. It's just about the mentality that they have to have. They need to kind of get away from the mentality of we're not the same team we were last year. We need to be this team that is now kind of redefining themselves and who they want to be. So I like this team so far. I'm going to take in the win in this final game of the year, and I think this is just for them a chance to say, hey, we're going to do some new things here. We're going to stick to our new program and our new lead here and get ourselves ready for next year. And I think there's still a lot of success for the Cougars to come in the future.
All right, and my what to watch, kind of continuing on David's trend here, looking ahead at what lies in the future. It's Vista Grande and Douglas. Now, Vista Grande had that program historic 6-game win streak. That ended a few weeks ago to Oro Valley Canyon del Oro. It was kind of a demoralizing loss for them. And speaking to head coach John Roberts last week, he said that, that really sucked the energy and life out of his guys. And that showed last week against Tucson Mika Mountain. It was kind of that scenario where you just poured salt into the wound. That was the case for Vista Grande. They really looked lackadaisical and just couldn't get their offense clicking at all against the Thunderbolts. Looking ahead at this week, they kind of want to right that ship. Yes, it's the last game of the season, but you want to go out on a high note here and start looking at next year. As Roberts mentioned, the good thing about this is that they've already somewhat established a basis for what they want to do, of where this program wants to go. And the good thing here is that, yes, these losses have been tough, but now they can pinpoint, okay, what is it we're doing wrong and what is it that we need to fix to get to that next level, which is the next step for this Spartans team. Looking at Douglas, it's not going to be easy. They are led by quarterback Aiden Rodriguez. He has over 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and it's kind of similar here to Vista Grande and what they can do with quarterback Darnell Castro and also Brendan Hunt. It's kind of a similar situation to last week, where you look at this game on paper and these teams are very identical. However, it doesn't just come to what's on paper. It's how these teams execute. So that's going to be the big thing here. What kind of week of practice can Vista Grande have to close out the season? If it's a good one, hey, they're going to win. If it's anything like it was last week, you can expect them to go, wrap up the season on a 3-game skid. David, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, we're wrapping up the season. We got our teams playing their last games of the season, and we'll kind of get ready for the playoffs next week. We'll see who makes it in. We're looking at 2 for sures and possibly 1 with Combs going on this week. So Combs has an opportunity to play here into the postseason. So we'll see what happens, and we'll get you all ready for playoff football next week.
Real quickly, here are our picks for the week. This will likely be our last week with picks, but we will definitely let you guys know who the winner is next week. We have been hanging in there, very close battle, so we'll have to wait and see how this one turns out. As always, be sure to tune in to Pinal Central over the weekend to see how all of our local teams did.